The truth about Maryland's 2026 schedule.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime at Korean account and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Let's talk about the truth of Maryland's 2026 schedule. I've heard a lot of opinions, a lot of different things in my comment section about me saying Maryland football is going to be much better next year. Maryland football is going to have a much better defense. They're going to have another year of Malik Washington. They have all these star-studded sophomores next year, but freshmen last year coming back that we're all really excited about. They have a really good roster. And I've heard a lot of people in my comment section being like, yeah, that's true, but look at the schedule. It's much harder than last year's schedule. And I kind of was waiting for the schedule to get released just so I can look at it as a list, see like where everything kind of shapes up, everything like that. And I've kind of come to the belief that this schedule really isn't that bad. Really isn't that bad for Maryland football. And maybe some people argue with me about it, but I don't think it's that much harder than last year's schedule. I think when you look at last year's schedule, you look at it and you're like, shoot, it looks a lot harder, honestly, now than maybe what we expected. And yes, there are some good teams next year that we play, but there's also a lot of winnable games. And when we start to look at it, I think that this schedule is very, very maintainable, manageable, whatever word you want to use. And Maryland football will have the chance to be successful with it. And I think that's the truth. But let's break it down a little bit. I do think you could argue it's a bit harder than last year, but I honestly don't think it's that much of a step up when you really look at it. Let's just start with the non-conference. The non-conference schedule is absolutely harder. It is. I think Hampton isn't a hard game. That's our first game of the year. We'll end up winning that game by 50, 40, 30 points, whatever the case is. We'll end up crushing Hampton. That pretty much compares to I would say that compares to like a Towson, what we played last year. Like we'll end up crushing Hampton. I think September 12th, second game of the year against UConn. UConn going to be a sneaky team. I think they're pretty good. Made a bowl game last year, put together a really good season, had Biletnikoff, finalists at receiver. Like they had some guys that were pretty good football players, have a good program. I think that they do compare to an FAU type, maybe a little bit better. But last year non-conference, FAU, Northern Illinois, Towson. This year non-conference, Hampton, like I said, UConn, like I said. But then we have that really intriguing game against Virginia Tech, a Virginia Tech team that we get at home that's going to be really interesting. I have no idea right now what that line will be like. I think they match up somewhat with the talent that we have. Like I would think who's ever the favorite would be no more than 5 or 6 points. Like I would have a hard time believing it's more than that. So absolutely a winnable game. Yes, Virginia Tech makes our non-conference schedule way harder, or not way harder, but definitely harder than last year, just having 3 games that were automatically wins. But I'm not looking at the Virginia Tech game as like, oh my gosh, we're playing Georgia in the third game of the year. We're playing 2025 Indiana in the third game of the year in our non-conference schedule. Maybe that was a bad example because they're in the Big Ten. Or we're not playing Alabama, or we're not playing LSU with Lane Kiffin now. We're playing Virginia Tech. And although James Franklin's doing a lot of recruiting, getting a lot of guys, flipping a lot of guys from Penn State, getting guys in portal, whatever the case is, that's still a really manageable non-conference game against 2 teams that aren't very good at all that you should be able to go 2-0 against. I know UConn could be sneaky, but we still should beat them. And then a third game against a team that you have a really good opportunity to be able to beat when I think a lot of people might honestly be watching that game and find it pretty intriguing with Virginia Tech, with Coach Franklin and all those different things. I do think that is an intriguing game, the most intriguing game for Maryland football. But I don't look at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's such a hard game. And then you look at the next from September 26th all the way to November 14th. There's only one game in that stretch that I'm like, yeah, Maryland's going to lose that game. Only one. Only one. With the talent that we have next year coming back and with some of the guys that we have, there's only one team from September 9th or September 26th, when we get to the conference play, to November 14th game, there's only one game that I feel pretty certain we're going to lose, and that's to Ohio State. They have a really good football team. I think we can all agree that they're probably going to beat us. Like, let's not be fools here. Ohio State's probably going to beat us. But other than that, until our last two games of this season, they're all winnable. Like, they're all winnable. September 26th, we play UCLA. I understand it's the Big Ten. I understand UCLA is going to be better. I know Nico's coming back at QB. It could be good this next year. I think they could make a jump. But you can't tell me that UCLA game ain't winnable. And then that's also you get them at home. Next game, October 3rd against Nebraska. Without Dylan Raiola, I know they got a transfer at QB. I know they could be a decent team. But you can't tell me Nebraska, even though that's on the road, isn't a very winnable game. I think Maryland's going to match up pretty well with a lot of these teams. Like, I think Maryland has the talent to be pretty good next year. And I know Nebraska is going to be decent, but you can't tell me that's not like this is some gauntlet we're playing. And then you play Ohio State, like I mentioned, a game that we probably will end up losing. But then you get Rutgers October 17th at home. That's a game we should win. I think next year, within a better improved team, with Malik Washington second year, all this pass rush I've been talking about, and some of the transfers we brought in, Rutgers, in my opinion, is a team that we should beat. And then you get 14 days to prepare to play Illinois coming up the bye. I think that's a good team to have a bye before, because I think you play that team at home. I think there's a good opportunity we end up we can compete with Illinois. I think they're going to be worse than they were last year. I think Illinois is absolutely a team we could beat. Then November 7th, you play Purdue. Purdue's been terrible. They've been arguably worse than us. That's a team, even though we play them away, is a team that we should probably win. So you get Rutgers and Purdue, which I think are two very manageable games. And then UCLA, I know they were kind of America's team for a second. Can't tell me that's a super hard win. Nebraska and Illinois fall in the same boat. They're solid, but I'm not looking at them as like, oh my gosh, this is a gauntlet. And then you play Wisconsin November 14th, another team that was quite awful last year who returned their coach. And so I look at that schedule and I'm like, this is winnable for Maryland football. I think there's an opportunity here for us to win games. Like, and maybe you guys disagree with me, but I think there's an opportunity. And then you end with USC and Penn State. A Penn State team, this isn't your traditional Penn State team from a couple years ago where we're certain they're going to be a powerhouse. They're going through changes. They just brought in the coach from Iowa State. Like, we don't really know yet what Penn State's going to be. So I know usually they've crushed us. I don't want to sit here and automatically be like Penn State is a juggernaut. USC, I think, is the game before Penn State. I think could be a hard game to win, to be honest. And so just off rip, like I like kind of comparing it to last year, but I think we always kind of look at it as games that I want to look at it. Yesterday, I kind of talked about it a tiny bit and talked about games that I thought we could win. I want to talk about games that I don't think we'll win. Like, let's be honest. Ohio State at Ohio State, don't think we'll win that. Or games that I don't think we have a chance to win. At USC, November 21st, I'll give you guys that. Other than that, like Penn State at home, new coach, like maybe, but like I think we'll have like a chance there to be able to win. I think USC could be much improved. I think Ohio State obviously will probably be a top 4 team in the country by the time we see them, maybe number 1, and we get them at their place at Ohio State. Like, that's not one we're going to win, but that's only 2 games where I'm like, maybe you could say 3 where I'm like, okay, Maryland's probably not going to have a chance at winning. 2, we don't know what Penn State is yet, so I don't want to hop on that yet. Like, we just don't know. and I'm not convinced they're going to be good. They lost a ton of people on that roster. I know they brought in a ton through the portal, but we're not sure. Other than that, it's manageable. There's games to be won. So I think Maryland's schedule, honestly, the truth about it is it's manageable. And with Maryland's improved team, it should absolutely be a bowl game. It should be. As long as we stay healthy and everything like that, knock on wood, a bowl game, a 7-win, 8-win season, there should be an opportunity there for that. I think that. Let me know what you guys think. But I don't think this is as bad as what a lot of people think it is. Let's talk a little bit about Maryland's basketball's 2026 class. Can it save the Terps? I don't know if it can. We'll talk about that next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Let's talk a little bit more about this Maryland 2026 class. Not convinced at all that this class can save Maryland basketball, and it might not be what you guys want to hear, but it's the reality of the situation. Next year, I still don't know exactly what's going to happen with this Maryland basketball roster. I mean, I hope it goes a couple different ways. I think there's guys that, like, if they leave, we're really not that upset about, to be completely honest. But I do think there's also guys that we're going to absolutely want back for another year. And we know this year we've won one Big Ten game. We've been awful. Everybody knows that. And this roster is going to have to be, like, so much better. And so this is how I see it personally. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, but this is how I see it, this thing going. And I just don't know if this 2026 class is going to be able to fix it. There's a couple guys that I think we absolutely really want back. And then I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. Darius Adams, we absolutely want back. Like, that's mission number one. I know he hasn't been, like, awesome this year, but he's shown flashes of maybe being, like, a really good elite scorer. Like, I think about, like, Deshaun Harris-Smith his freshman year. Like, there was nothing coming off his freshman year, Deshaun Harris-Smith, where I was like, yeah, we feel good about him kind of as, like, an offensive threat. Darius Adams, yeah, he hasn't been the most efficient cat in the world, but, like, there's shown flashes of his shooting, his playmaking ability where we want him back. Alex Austin, another guy at forward, his stretch ability, I think he has the potential, really want him back as well. And then after that, it gets really kind of suspect. Marquise Passmore, I guess, will be back from the injury. We don't really know much about him. If he decides to return, I don't know. I think he will probably end up coming back to Maryland. I mean, he was injured the whole year. I can't see a whole lot of reason why he would transfer, but then you got guys like Andre Mills where I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think him coming back wouldn't be bad. I think he needs to improve his offensive game and work on stuff, but I don't think that he would be bad at all to have back. Miles Rice, I don't know if I'm just being, like, kind of, like, ignorant or what. I still, like, kind of wish we just gave Miles Rice more of an opportunity because he's a guy to me that could have worked really well if he came back. Like, I think there is really a spot there for Miles Rice this year, and he's a junior and he has another year, but obviously that's not what we chose. George Turkson Jr. hasn't done much, but I can see him possibly coming back. Isaiah Watts, I don't see coming back. Him and Miles Rice, I don't see coming back. And so you look at it, it's a lot of people gone next year. Like Pharrell Payne should be gone. Elijah Sanders should be gone. I doubt Isaiah Watts comes back, to be completely honest. I doubt Miles Rice comes back with the role that we give him. Pharrell Payne gone. Colin Metcalf gone. Diggy Coit gone. And so as much as this class is the number 4 class in the nation, which I'm still kind of looking at it, I'm like, dang, this is the number 4 class in the nation. I don't know if this is going to like save us. Like you look at the kid Baba, small forward, 6'10", 5-star talent, arguably could be maybe the number 1 pick in the draft next year. Like there's a world where that happens. I don't know the 2026 class, like all in all, like all throughout for me to like kind of say that, but I think there's a world where he is that. Like at 6'10", people compare him to Kevin Durant with his skill. But I still kind of question, like, how ready is he? Like, is this guy pretty raw still? Like, how ready is he to actually be a college player? Because there's a difference between projecting well in the NBA and being a high NBA draft pick and actually playing good basketball in college. Like, some guys I know can do that, but some guys is just like they'll have a ton of talent and 3 years down the road, they're going to maybe be an NBA All-Star. But right now, they're just not there. And I'm not saying that's Baba, but we don't know. And he'll definitely start next year. Like there's I can't see a world where he doesn't start at the 4 position or the 3 position. I think I like him at the 4, and you're gonna need like a 5-man probably, but I think he definitely is going to end up starting. And then the kid Caden House, point guard, 4-star talent, number 5 ranked point guard in the class. He could very well be a starter next year as well. I think his offensive game's probably good enough to get him in the lineup right away. I think he's going to be really good. And I think if you have those 2 in the lineup and then you also have Darius Adams in the lineup, I think you're in a not bad spot. But then you still need to fill out a lot of guys, and there's not a whole lot. Like I think Alex Awesome could be good, but I don't love him starting next year necessarily. And then I like the kid Adama, but I think he's still kind of like going to be somebody that like we're not like trusting him in a ton to like right away produce. Austin Brown's a good shooter. Same with him though. And so I think the transfer portal is still going to have to be a big thing for Maryland basketball next year. And I know Buzz Williams kind of proved he was able to use it decently, but at the same time, you look at it and you're like, I don't know. So I don't know how kind of the roster is going, or you look at the performance he actually put in, or the performance that our team actually put in this year, you're like, I don't know. Like we felt like we got a lot of good players in the portal, but did it actually work out? And so as much as I'm like, we're recruiting well, we have like some type of returners like coming back, I'm still like, is this thing going to go the right direction, or are we going to quickly take a left turn and things aren't going to go well? I think there's a possibility of that. And so I don't really know with Maryland basketball, but I don't feel confident that this 2026 class is going to save us. This ain't like, I'll say this. If it's a situation where, quickly before we have to move on, if it's a situation where it's like Maryland's 2020 or the class with Derek Queen in 2024, where Derek Queen comes in and we're like, oh, we're super excited about Derek Queen, but Kevin Willard also gets everybody besides Julian Reese, another 3 guys in the portal that were all elite, and Rodney Rice, Jacoby Gillespie, Celta Miguel, then you have Derek Queen around him. That's going to be a different situation. I don't know if Buzz Williams can do that. We'll see what ends up happening, but that's just how I see this situation. We'll see how it ends up actually coming together. Let's talk a little bit about Maryland's receiving room next year for football. It's still one of my biggest concerns. Will it get fixed? What will happen with that? Talk about that next. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets last minutes without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. Gametime is great for NBA and tickets in any league. I love seeing the price, all-in price up front, no surprise fees at checkout. Being able to see the view from the seat before buying made the decision easy for me, and Zone Deal stood out. Choose a section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save. Great last-minute options, too, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime create account and use code LOCKEDON on college for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Remember, it's gametime.com. Let's talk a little bit about Maryland's receiving room. I don't feel confident at all heading into 2026 football year with what we currently got rocking in Maryland's receiving room. Starting with kind of the guys, and we still don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We're still probably going to add a couple guys, like one or two, I would hope. I would love to see one more guy commit. But starting with the transfer portal, we had two guys in Naheem Abdul-Rahim Gladding from ODU, and then also Chris Durr from Wyoming. Both guys were good last year for their teams, but they weren't like guys that I trust necessarily in the Big Ten to take over like Maryland probably needs. Like Maryland's looking like a team in the receiving room based off of what we lost last year. Shalik Knotts, Octavian Smith, both really good players. Jaleel Farouk, all three of those guys. We lose that trio, all pretty good last year. I didn't think they were like more like a name value than maybe actually how well they played. Like Shalik Knotts might have been the best one, and he might have been kind of the least known one heading into the year. But still, that's kind of besides the point. You lose your top three receivers from Maryland football. Like let's not kind of talk too much about that. You lose your top three receivers, they're gone. And usually Maryland football has like one or two guys that are coming up that you're like, okay, we lost one or two receivers, but like you got Ty Felton waiting in the wings, or you got Rakeem Jarrett waiting in the wings, or Dante Demas or something like that. And so this isn't one of those years where I'm like, there's a guy waiting there. Like, I'm like, oh, he's next up. Like, I think we all knew kind of this year, like Octavian Smith was probably next up. And then you bring in Jaleel Farouk, who's been really good when he wasn't injured at Oklahoma. You're like, okay. And then there was a couple guys, whether it was Shalik Knotts, whether it was Ryan Manning, like there was guys in the receiving room that you could feel like could work. Now you're looking at it and I'm like, I don't know who's next up. Caleb Webb, he hasn't entered the portal yet. I'm guessing he'll be back. I don't know for sure. I thought he was a guy that could potentially leave. But if he's back, I think he could have a better role in the offense. But last year, he didn't do very much. Didn't have like a big year at all, but definitely was decent at times. 22 receptions, 318 yards. It's not bad, and 2 touchdowns. He was a deep threat, made some good plays down the field. He couldn't make a jump. Like he's probably guy number one that like could make a jump, as well as Zymir Smith. I think there's something there. And then Ryan Manning as well. But none of those guys to me scream like, yeah, they're ready, you know? And then, so that's where I was looking at the portal. I'm like, okay, we bring in 2 guys from ODU and Wyoming, Chris Durr and Naheem, where I'm like, yeah, they played solid last year, but it's not like they're like going to be number ones from Malik Washington or going to be top targets for Malik Washington. And that's where I kind of am in this like hole where I'm like, I don't really know where Maryland basketball kind of, or where Maryland football kind of goes in this receiving room. And it's important. Like nobody can tell me it's not important. We got Malik Washington as a sophomore. If you want him to come back again, you better have some guys to throw the ball to. And I know I've been preaching. I really like the tight end room. I think there's a lot there. I think there's talent there for Maryland football in the tight end room. I think we're going to be a tight end led offense possibly with Dorian Fleming and different things like that. But at the same time, you want some guys on the outside that can make some plays. And I don't know. It's a bunch. It's like, it kind of reminds me of our defensive line last year where it's like there's a bunch of bodies, but I don't know. And I don't want to even say there's a bunch of bodies, but there's a lot of different types of bodies. But I don't know if any of them actually are going to work out or any of them are actually going to be elite. Now, there's something to be said in football for a little bit of trial and error where somebody's got to be pretty good, but you just don't know. And so it's a concern because of where Malik Washington's at and his potential. So I don't know how it's going to work. But that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked On Terps.